Robert Donovan, BT3. And then finally my ship came in, and I went down there and reported during the day and got on board and got ready to go. And we had some work to do in the boiler room. Of course, there's always maintenance to do. You pull into port, and especially in home port, you can hook up to shore power, shore water. You can shut everything down and start doing repairs. And that's what we did. We did that for a couple months, and then we went off to Boston. We got a main valve installed. We were in dry dock, I think maybe for a month. So I got to tour Boston and everything, and I worked the midnight shift. You had to be very careful in dry dock. You couldn't move a bump that weighed more than 150 pounds from here to there without permission, because they had to check the stability. But anyway, Boston was interesting. And then after Boston, we went directly to Guantanamo Bay. Had to stop a layover in Fort Lauderdale. Lots of fun, lots of fun. And then Guantanamo Bay for 6 weeks, and we did some training exercises, and that was very interesting. You could see these Russian ships that were out there patrolling Cuba, because at that time, Fidel was getting tons of money from Russia, and lots of assistance. And we had speedboats that were armed with big machine guns, and they used to go out there and taunt these big ships. And those guys were not military. They were United States Treasury Department. They wore black slacks, white shirts with a little gold badge. And I mean, these guys must have been real pros, because they went out there, I couldn't remember, maybe 21-foot boats or something, maybe 30, and they would taunt those big ships. But Guantanamo Bay is a very nice place. They've got baseball fields for recreation. They have a section for jails. They have a lot of barracks, low-level barracks, you know, just enough to accommodate you to sleep and things like that. And every night, everybody went to the enlisted men's club and drowned their sorrows and so on. But the base has an area behind a fence that's up in the mountains. You know, their perimeter of the base is, and there's jeeps patrolling, and there's tanks and half trucks, you know, out there, just to make sure that we're not molested by the communist Cubans at that time. But the island itself, I never got, there's a city nearby called Guantanamo City. And that's supposed to be very reckless. It's like one of those places where all the bars are off limits and stuff, you know. But the island's beautiful. From what I saw, the little section out there, just a gorgeous, gorgeous island, you know. And that was fun. And then we did some exercises, and we trained, I mentioned it earlier, that we trained with the Turkish Navy, because we had given them some old World War II destroyers, so they needed help. And we did that, and we trained out there for like 3-4 days, but every night we returned to port. That was one, I guess we just didn't want to sail around there overnight and, you know, become subject to anything. So it was out during the day, bright and early, come back to port, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and at that time it was what they call tropical working hours, because it was hot, you know. You started early, and you knocked off at about 3 o'clock as soon as you could, you know. And that was fun. And then we went up on another cruise. We left there, and I was back. I don't recall where I was in between there, but I was back to Guantanamo Bay a second time, and that was for anti-sub warfare. And we tested a lot of equipment, short-range missiles, and the new type of like self-control torpedoes that we had on board. We had 4 tubes of torpedoes, 2 on the port and 2 on the starboard. And so we exercised them, and then we had to put a new air compressor in for them because they were launched by air. And they brought some civilians on board, and we don't know where these civilians came from. They would never tell you, you know, and they were playing with our sonar equipment and putting buoys over the side. So that was a lot of exercise, but that didn't last 6 weeks. I think that was only about 4 weeks. And then back to Newport, Rhode Island. We got a break for 2 months before we set sail again. And